Welcome, everybody, entrepreneurs, potential YO members, and YO members. My name is Robert van der Zwart. I'm a member of YO Netherlands, and today I'm joined by Mike Schwartz. Coincidentally, we more or less have the same last name, but that's a coincidence. Um, so today, this is the first webinar of two, and we're going to talk about and try to answer the question how to amplify your marketing with the help of AI. Now, to start with a household rule, we are with a pretty large group. So please make sure that your microphones are in mute, but leave your cameras on so we can actually see you and we have connection with the audience. If you have a question, put them in the chat. And if you really want to ask a question to me or to Mike, raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and you can ask the question and we try to answer it as good as possible. At the end of this webinar, we have a golden nugget, which you can immediately use, and it will generate immediate value in your marketing. So that's kind of cool. So stay until the end. It's a bit of a surprise. It's a new and very new thing. To start it all off, I would like to ask the audience one question. What describes your current use of AI in marketing best? And you can put it in the chat. So is it content publishing, occasional ideation, a few workflows, nothing structured, a systematic use of AI, or you're just starting? So put them in the chat and let's see what kind of where we at with this group. I cannot see the question, so you have to comment on that. Are you the chat? So
Content. Just getting started. Workflows. Content. Just starting. Content. Okay. That's usually what we see.
well, I think that's the most people are using AI for content polishing and the occasional ideation, I guess. But today we're going to try to make it more systemic and in a more improved way to just know what you're doing and do it on a very determined way. Mike, let's start with the big picture. How is AI transforming the market strategy in general?
So yeah, those of you that attended the previous workshop where we were talking about sales, it's very similar. For the first step is using AI to do your research for you and automate that research. So most people with marketing strategy, we tend to set it and forget it, becomes intuitive, and then after you've been doing marketing for a company for X number of years, you don't really think about strategy too much. I find most people just kind of lock in on the tactics and the programs, and they forget to look big picture. Big picture is shifting rapidly, and big picture analysis, like say developing a detailed marketing strategy or doing market research, these sorts of activities are typically expensive and slow, and they don't move the needle in the short term too much, and most people stop doing them. So I think is just to know that because the cost of these activities has dropped 99%, you can now get all of that stuff that you normally do when you're starting out a new business and figuring out your ideal client and assessing all of your competitors and doing all this sort of high-level marketing strategy. You can do that on a daily basis now with agents, and they can just keep checking that pulse. So the one thing we recommend there is, first level, just learning how to do deep research on your industry, on your competitors, and compiling that information, storing it somewhere like Google Drive or SharePoint. That's the first step. And you can do that manually, and you can review it and you can read it. If you're doing that at least quarterly, you're doing better than most. Where things get really interesting is when you start to automate those research objectives. So having little agents that will go out and scrape all the marketing strategy from your top competitors and compile that data and store it. So you can have agents that are scraping your client's website, seeing what type of blog articles they're posting most frequently. That'll give you a good indication of the types of content they're seeing the most success with. You could have agents that are combing through their social media pages to see the types of social posts that they're making. You can have agents that are also subscribed to their email newsletters and analyzing what sort of promotions or specials that they're doing. Agents can go out and do this. Now, that would be very expensive to do with humans doing that daily, but now you can do it with AI. And I think the magic comes with the automation and then layering that data over time and then having agents come back on a slower interval to say, what's changed in the last 30 days versus the last 90 days? Or what sort of trends or patterns have we seen with the industry or my competitors over the last 12 months? So that's typically where I like to get started with research, is setting up the automatic agentic collection of industry and competitive data. That's the first pillar. You want me to keep going, Robert?
Yeah.
Well,
Lots of pillars.
there's one question from Alejandro is how do you set up those agents?
Most of those agents, I mean, if you want to go on the low end, fast, cheap, easy, you can set up scheduled tasks directly within, say, ChatGPT. You can ask it to do something and it'll do it every Friday at 9 o'clock and report back. Now, that's the really basic, lightweight thing. What we typically do, we'll use N8N or make.com, something like that, and we'll just build an agent that has the scaffolding. It will go out and do that for us, and it'll automatically take its findings, compile it, and put it into a Google Drive folder. Then the next agent that comes along monthly will then analyze all of the content that's compiled in that one folder. But yeah, technically, most of that work we're doing with N8N.
We do have an example later on in this program, in the content creation part, but you can use, of course, the agents and the multiple agents also to collect the information, the data. What I like about the new way of doing marketing and analysis is you're going away from your gut feel, and you really have now the opportunity to do very good research on a daily basis, and you don't need a huge data team or a market research team for it. And that can give you so much insights in how the market is developing, but also how it's developing over a period of time. So if you can store that in your corporate brain, you can use it for better decision making. To me, that is one of the huge advantages of using AI in marketing strategy.
Absolutely. And the decision-making part, that comes from having all of the pillars in place. So first, you need to have all of the research about the industry and your competitors and what they're doing, and but you need to be able to compare that with your own internal strategies and your own internal KPIs and scorecards. So in marketing, you should know, like if you're a lead gen, which I think probably 70-80% of EO, they care more about leads than, say, e-commerce. You need to be tracking all of your numbers and reports. That's another set of data that you should be collecting internally. So that's another pillar. AI agents should be collecting and compiling all of your internal KPIs and organizing them and storing them up in a place that AI can quickly analyze that. You also, based on the strategy and the industry research, you have to come up with a marketing strategy plan. That's your goalpost. Say, this is what our plan is for the year, for the quarter, for the next 2 years. I typically don't go past 2 years anymore because we don't know what this world is going to look like in 2 years. But once you have your external data that's being updated frequently and analyzed, and you've got all the internal analysis, your KPIs and scorecards, and then you set your vision and goals, that's when the decision making can really kick in. I call this automated AI analysis. It needs to know what's happening, what you're trying to do, and what's actually happening, and then it can come back and analyze that, and it'll come up with recommendations and say things like, hey, we've noticed that in your industry, a lot of your competitors have started lowering their prices and introducing these new products, and you haven't even touched them. We can see that they're doing these things on TikTok. You don't yet have any TikTok exposure. You might want to consider these sorts of changes. So the AI analysis really kicks in once you have all of those fundamental AI strategy pillars in place.
Question to the audience. When you think about using AI for strategy, not just content or the analysis, what is the first challenge that comes to mind that you would like to solve? Put your answer in the chat so we can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So far, the feedback, the automation side of it, finding new marketing channels from Cheryl. I'm always looking for the fastest, cheapest, best new way. Brett says templates to get started. Jen says finding how to stand out and how to be different in a world of similarity. Automation from Christina. Chad says interacting with leadership team. Automating reports and analytics, and a whole bunch rolling in here. Differentiation, reducing marketing budget, sourcing talent. So I think that's for me. I mean, I've got 5 layers of notes here under marketing strategy. And then the first piece there, just to summarize that layer, it's automating the deep industry research, competitors and industry, comparing that with internal analysis and research and KPIs and scorecards versus your overarching objectives, your strategic plan, and then having the AI analyze all of that and come up with recommendations and being able to ask it questions. So you take all of that knowledge that you've collected, you can have an internal chat bot. You just ask it questions like, hey, what do you think we should change for next quarter for marketing? And it will be able to give you excellent advice. And also, I just put a note here too that we completely have automated the creation of our own marketing strategy. We do this for
That's
cli-
the question
client.
I wanted to ask you. So I know that when you do an in discovery call with potential clients, you are able to create a marketing plan in like, well, not in minutes, but in hours.
No minutes.
And so to me, when I was working as a junior brand manager at the time, it took me like 2 months, sometimes 3 months to create a marketing plan. And that's now something that you can basically do on the spot. How do you do that?
Yeah, we do it real time. So like I still have a marketing agency on the side. My core business is now AI, but came from marketing agency world. And that was one of the first things we automated. When you have a new client that comes on board, we have to create what we call the client brief. We need to know everything about the client, what they're doing, what their budgets are, what their core values are, where they're currently advertising, everything, who their competitors are, their brand voice, etc. And these brief docs are really like it's a lightweight digital marketing strategy document. They would take us in the past probably 10 to 20 hours to create. And we would send out the client questionnaire and answer all these questions about your goals and objectives and KPIs and who your top competitors are, and then we would take that information and we'd manually go out to ChatGPT and do research and create these briefs. Well, we have agents now that listen into the discovery calls, and we will just ask those questions on a call. We'll take the transcription. The transcription will feed into N8N. We'll go off and do all the industry and competitive analysis. We'll comb through their website. It'll do everything, and it creates that brief in minutes. So the creation of like very complex marketing strategy, marketing briefs can be automated. We have multiple prompts in play and multiple agents that are going out and scraping and collecting things, bringing it back, putting it together, passing it to the human in the loop, which is usually me still, unfortunately. I have to comb through it and then try to punch holes in what the AI strategy was. But it's pretty good at coming up with that initial strategy. Now, in order to keep adapting and evolving your strategy, we're back to the automated deep research on your industry and on your competitors and what they're doing versus your internal goals, your pillars versus your KPIs and scorecards. And then the strategy can keep evolving and changing over time. I haven't done this yet, but you could quite easily, as the agent is giving recommendations or as you're interacting with your AI strategist, could be through Slack, could be through a custom chatbot or through Microsoft Teams, as it comes up with suggested changes like, I think you need to start advertising on TikTok and maybe reduce some of your Google Ads spend. If you say yes, it can draft up the recommended changes for the strategy and automatically publish those changes into the overarching strategy doc. So yeah, that's sort of how I'm thinking about the first stage of marketing is nailing your strategy and automating like a good 95% of that.
Where does the knowledge come from? Because if it gives you an advice on to do more advertising on TikTok, you need to feed it in. But it doesn't come up with it by itself.
Where does the
Where does
knowledge come from? I mean, the intelligent piece. So you have all these workflow automations is really what they are. And people are calling them agents. And these agents will do things like it might go and look at all of the different social media channels that your biggest competitor is doing and analyze every single post and then categorize them into what types of posts. And then we would store like the knowledge comes from a bit of marketing and from the large language model. So we would say, hey, we want you to analyze and categorize all of the different types of social media that our competitors are doing, throw them into these buckets and show us the frequency of the different types. And we have to make an assumption there that if they're seeing success, because we don't know their analytics behind the scenes, the value they're necessarily getting from their posts. But I think it's fair to assume that if a competitor is posting a lot more educational content about this specific pillar on a regular basis, they're doing that because they're seeing success with that. So you can kind of bake that intuitive marketing knowledge into the prompt and then tell AI what to be looking for, or even say like, based on your analysis of what all of my competitors are posting on social or within their newsletters or on their blogs, what marketing insights can you glean from that? Act as a senior digital marketing strategist and come up with great recommendations for me that I can use in my plan. And be sure to look at my existing plan, compare what my competitors are doing, and let me know where you see holes and opportunities. So that's the prompt. And then the intelligence comes back from, well, we give it all the context from all this automated deep research we're doing. It knows the goal of the prompt, and then the language model, like we probably use something like GPT-5 thinking. It would think about that for a long time and then give a weekly report to your director of marketing suggesting any potential changes. So it's a combination of intelligence from an experienced human that's guiding the AI through the prompt, the fully automated process there using N8N, and the intelligence is then coming from any language model. It could be Gemini, it could be Claude, ChatGPT. So it's a combination of things.
So it's also a matter of, so it's basically a matter of getting the right data sources and a good prompting. So could you, and that's a question that I have. So can I ask ChatGPT, okay, give me an example of the best performing TikTok videos that do conversion or are likely to convert into sales or sales calls? Can I ask that in such a way, or is that too blunt?
Well, we don't know what. Well, it depends. If the data is publicly available, like if we can see the likes and the comments and the engagement, yeah. So you can say, go back and look at all of my competitors and tell me which types of posts are getting the best engagement. Compare that with what's happening on my social and come up with recommendations. Yeah, I mean, you can also have AI connect directly to your own data sources like Google Analytics. Now, we do this, for example, for blogging strategy. We're getting more into content strategy, which I know a lot of you are working on. Now, you can have an agent that, say, analyzes the analytics of all of your recent blog posts and tells us which one, based on the data signals like time spent on page, like total view length, like how far down the page did they scroll, how long do they spend. You can make assumptions. Did they like your article or not? And assuming that you're getting a steady flow of your ideal customer profile, your ICP, coming to your website, you want to know, like, what types of articles should I write more of? Well, having AI go through the analytics of your blogging section and look at that data can very quickly make recommendations for you. Now, a seasoned marketer can, of course, do the same thing by going into analytics and learn those things. But if you have an advisory agent, like your marketing strategist agent, and it has connections into your Google Analytics or into your Facebook Analytics or into tools like SEO Moz to understand your keyword plan, and it's analyzing competitive data. All of these different data sources give it the context it needs so that you can ask the agent questions and it can provide brilliant advice. And also so that as it runs these sort of automated assessments and analysis for you, that it just gets smarter with that context.
And there's no limits in data sources. So you can combine any data source, internal, externally, but you have to think about what kind of data you need in order for your own decision making and for the decision making of the agent.
Yeah, and you have to guide it a bit, like, and if you can't guide it, you can ask AI how to write the prompt so that it knows, like, you can't just say, go out there and analyze my competitors and tell me what I need to do. It won't do as good of a job as if you say, act as a senior digital marketing strategist. I want you to analyze my competitors and let me know what are the types of things that you're seeing and the types of things that I should be looking for that could help guide my internal marketing strategy. Have that discussion first, to use that to come up with a prompt to narrow the AI's focus so that you don't want to overload it with too much information and broad, ambiguous goals. You want to know, like, it's better to give it a little bit more direction. And if you're not sure how to give it that direction, I mean, you probably should get a better marketing director. Usually you want to be able to give it solid direction, but AI can guide the director as well. So I think that the prompt is the directing of the agent, which is doing all the heavy lifting. And the human is our main source of direction here is adjusting and tweaking the prompts to get the outputs and analysis that we're looking for.
And you can collect the data on a very regular basis. And how often should you collect the data for your competitors? Because, well, if you can look at it two ways. So when we did it in the old days, it was like on a quarterly basis, maybe on a weekly basis. But now you can have an overflow or an overwhelming amount of data into the system. And I know, okay, AI systems can work with large volumes of data, but still, how often do you need to check your competitors or the competitors, for instance?
Because the cost is so low, I mean, there's no harm in checking it daily. I think you don't need to store the information daily. You just want to store what has changed. So I'll think of it like a really specific example. How many people here have e-commerce stores? Show of hands, or anybody here in e-commerce? Kelsey,
Put it in the comments,
D,
on the chat.
Alejandro, Nav. Oh, hello, Nav. You Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley. I gotta stop saying Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley. Those are different things. So in e-commerce, something that's very important is analyzing prices on your competitor sites. So if you're selling a product that's available and has substitutes, and you're priced at $100 and your competitor does a quick price drop that day, and it shows up in Google Shopping quickly, your sales can drop, and an agent can pick up that on a daily basis. So I think depending on what sort of industry and model you're in, like I think e-commerce, it's very frequent tracking. Something that e-commerce companies are doing as well. You'll see quite often pricing is not transparent. You'll have VIP pricing behind the scenes for our best customers, or something will go out in a VIP industry insider newsletter, get 20% off, special offer, thanks for these loyalty and incentive programs. So an agent can subscribe to all of those newsletters. You might have to actually buy a couple of products to get even invited to those newsletters sometimes, and then return them once you're on those lists. But the agent can analyze that stuff on a daily basis and say, heads up, these 14 products are currently priced out of the market. We've seen price drops here. You might want to adjust your prices. And the fun part there is you can actually even automate the price changes. So you can have the agent that's connecting into your Shopify pricing and recommending, hey, Kelsey, I recommend we drop our price today 8% to match your competitor here. Our margins are still above our target of 40%. Would you like to accept those changes? And you say yes, and the agent goes off to Shopify and updates your pricing. So that's an example of something that I would say should be fairly high frequency. But then you might have another agent that's just looking at promotions. It's like once a month, it's going out, it's analyzing all the emails. It's like, what did all of my competitors do for Black Friday, Cyber Monday last year and the year before? If you have that data, it might just be once a year that agent is collecting Christmas specials and monthly specials, analyzing that. So, but the cost of it is so cheap. I don't think, depending on what it is, I mean, we're talking about pennies per day to get this analysis. You don't want to be logging all of the data, just the data that's changed from the previous one, so that you're not, growing outside of the context window of what AI can easily analyze.
There's one danger to this, I guess. Now, if the market becomes transparent, it becomes generic, or it has the risk to become generic, and the prices drop at an industry level or at a market level, because it's becoming so transparent. You may end up starting in a price war.
Yeah, have you guys seen that report recently about AI intuitive price fixing, like where the agents start to do game player theory with each other, and they just evolve at the point of realizing, hey, every time I lower my price, this agent lowers their price, so I'm better off not lowering my price, and they slowly collude over time to maximize profits and basically hurt the consumer. There's a report I saw a few weeks ago. It's an interesting thought there, Robert. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this sort of game player theory happens when you no longer have a pricing manager and a human on either sides, and it's these agents making like real-time decisions and testing out different strategies. But that's a complex topic for probably a different talk.
Well, that's a good idea. Which brings me to the next section, embedding AI in a marketing function. Now, you were talking about you were talking about KPIs and rocks. Why is it important to have rocks in your marketing function when it comes to AI?
Yeah, and so when you say marketing function, like a lot of us, I would refer to as like marketing operations or all of your marketing processes. And I think there you need to shift from, hey, we're just doing a bunch of marketing stuff, to we understand this is a series of systems and processes, and being able to visualize them. I think that's the first step. But when we talk about rocks in marketing, every single person on our team has an AI rock that they're focused on. And so they should all understand what they're doing. I have an example here I can share on my screen of a rock that one of our content manager was working on. And it was to um, document the process of creating videos using AI. I'm just going to play this little clip for you here so you can see a rock that Lou has been working on within our team. And we have probably 20 or 30 of these rocks. These are AI automation rocks that are underway at any given point. This will support their education, and this is the precursor to automation. So what you're going to see here from Lou is, I think, roughly 70% automation of creating videos internally. And the next step, we're going to move it to probably 99% automation when an agent takes over the entire process. So here we'll go. Let me share my screen.
Name is Lou, and I am the director of content here at MySound. I wanted to give you a quick peek behind the scenes at how we create AI-powered videos. So our process is about 70% automated, and it starts with a creative concept and script, usually brainstorming between me and ChatGPT. Once we have the story, the tone, structure, locked in, we move on to do the clip generation. From there, our video manager takes over and uses tools like Video 3, Sora 2, or HeyGen to generate the visuals and the clips. For voiceovers, we use 11 Labs, which makes it super easy to create natural, consistent voices for different projects. Finally, we bring everything together in the editing stage, where we fine-tune the pacing, the visuals, and the flow, and that's where the human touch really makes a difference. And the result looks something like this.
We need to off this program with urgent breaking news. Reports are coming in that the city is under attack. We now take you live to the scene.
Hey, your inner Snorzilla. Sleep like a human again with CPAP Superstore.
Or something like this.
So they're not perfect yet. They're creative and we're testing a lot of them, but you can see the process there is first, they have a normal way of doing it. It was different, stock photography, real video footage, and it took them a few months to figure out all of the AI elements. Now they're deep into the stage of using N8N to automate that entire process so that an agent will interview the client and will automatically propose multiple scripts based on their goals and objectives, right? There's so many different ways you can structure video. And then based on that, we choose the right script. It'll go off to the different platforms like Kling and VO and others, and it will generate multiple clips. We'll quickly choose our favorite clips. That's where the human in the loop comes in. We'll go clip 3 of 5 or regenerate, try 5 more. And then it will, the final step, it will merge them together, and then the human will come along and do a little bit of post-production. But that's an example of one rock. There's tons of these rocks happening in every aspect of, like, every single person has at least one rock like this where they're trying to take an old process, turn it into the AI version, and then finish off with automation and end up as the human in the loop. And I was thinking, like, why is this so important with marketing beyond just,
That was my follow-up question.
oh, do you want to ask it?
No. Why is it so important?
It's so important because in marketing, like, efficiency is everything, right? If you're slightly more efficient than your competitors in marketing, that translates into higher profit margins, and higher profit margins, or it could result in better retention and a higher lifetime value of your customer. Whoever has the highest LTV, the lifetime value of your customer acquisition, and the highest profit margins, they win. How? Well, you can afford to spend more to acquire a customer. You can afford to spend more for talent. You can spend money on brand building and relationships with other people can't. Like, just specifically looking at Google, if you are way more efficient at your marketing function and your operations as a whole, you can afford to outbid your competitor. And that could be the difference between you being first place in an industry and being like a distant fifth. That can be the difference between you taking 90-80% of the traffic on the homepage of Google, or you like fighting for scraps. So yeah, marketing efficiency is fun, and you can say have a process that used to cost, say a quarterly newsletter was taking $4,000 in labor, and now you get it down to a $50 weekly agentic process. That's fun. You're thinking about, well, I'm saving money from my newsletter. But if you look bigger picture within your organization, all of these little efficiency gains add up to higher lifetime value. And that's the difference between, can I afford to be first in my market or last in the market? So I think there's a bigger picture there.
How about a learning rock?
A learning rock. Well, that's actually, you can see Jeanette. I don't know if you can raise your virtual hand there, but Jeanette is responsible for setting learning rocks with everybody in our company. So they all have one AI automation rock and one AI learning rock. And so Jeanette meets with them on a monthly basis. And Jeanette, do you want to maybe, she wasn't planning to speak today, but do you want to just quickly explain how you set up people's learning rocks?
Yeah, so they have a meeting with me once a month with the option of having more depending on people's kind of learning journeys. And everybody has to be working on something AI, whether personal or professional development. It's a non-negotiable. And what's interesting, what we saw is once we saw everyone having AI rocks, it kind of had that snowball effect for the whole company. Like people started getting really excited about like, ooh, what about this? Ooh, what about that? And just sharing, and which kind of also led into our monthly whole company rock sharing. And but with having, and I set up a custom GPT for our whole team, so all the rocks can be kind of really laid out with our smart framework and really detailed with a work back schedule. And so it's been really amazing. We've seen some
And
crazy
we
ideas
found
come
like
through.
before Jeanette was checking in monthly on progress with their AI learning rocks, they weren't getting done. Now we hold them accountable. And so learning rocks are the easiest ones for people to forget about. In our weekly, like we follow EOS, and like in our weekly L10 meetings, we check in on all of our sort of AI automation rocks. But the learning stuff, we just found people weren't taking it seriously. And this is like if you're not learning this stuff, you're going to be obsolete in less than 3 years it's an urgent call. So yeah, we really found that accountability piece was big. Robert, I wanted to throw something in here. I've got a short video to share. So when you're deep in your marketing operations, the most important thing that I think is you have to see your marketing function as a series of systems and processes. You need to elevate yourself above and look down at that. And people often struggle thinking, well, you hear things in the news like, oh, AIs can't automate this person yet or can't automate this function. I don't think it's about that. I think it's understanding all of the little pieces of every single process, because AI can specifically take out just one piece here, one piece there, and crank up your efficiency 5% here, 5% there. So I think that's a really important step is that system thinking. I recently ran into this entrepreneur. I'm not sure if he's in EO or not. His name is Brian, and me and Jeanette were on the call. He built this app called Puzzle, and I'm going to show you a little video here from Brian. And what I love most about it is the ability to, first of all, visualize all of your marketing functions, but then when you can put an actual cost of each process down, it'll automatically tell you what the labor cost is. It will allow you to split test it and say, what would an agentic version of this process look like, and what would the savings be and the ROI be? We used to do all that work with spreadsheets for years, and now you can literally have conversations with his agents, and it will build these workflows and tell you where those opportunities are to save the most money. And I think that, getting back to marketing efficiency, I think that's super important. So here is AI Brian explaining his AI tool. You guys can see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. Where's the play button on here?
Everyone knows content is king in marketing these days, but creating content is extremely labor intensive. Marketers today are expected to ship high quality, channel ready content every single day, but they're doing it with the same headcount, the same budget, and barely any time to figure out what's actually working. But that's where AI can help. Today, I want to walk you through 7 ways marketers are using AI in their processes to save hundreds of labor hours across a year. And I'll use puzzle diagrams to show you exactly where those opportunities live and quantify the financial impact it will have on your processes. So in my screen right here, you're looking at 2 different processes. The top is an excruciatingly manual content creation process, and the bottom is an AI-enabled content generation process. Let's take a deeper look. So as I zoom in on the workflow canvas, you can see there's some key differences that I have highlighted in these diagrams. In the top diagram, all of these steps are manual. And you can see that each one of these steps takes a certain amount of time to complete, which you can see with this ticker at the top right. If I go to the section level, I get a roll-up of the total amount of hours per year, per month, or even per run, per piece of content that I'm generating, right here in this sidebar, and it will calculate the labor costs that are based on the roles that contribute to each one of these steps. Let's look at this step right here, which is writing video scripts in Google Docs. So you can see here that I've estimated that writing scripts takes about 60 minutes for each piece of content, under the assumption that the other 10 pieces of content for a given month are graphics. And I can quantify the step cost right here, and then it will roll up the total cost of the process at this level. So if you're trying to make a case for, let's say, investing into 3 AI tools that can streamline your operations in the marketing department, you can very easily quantify what it costs you to do your work today and what it costs you to do your work with AI tools. So let's go over to the future state. You can see I have 7 or 8 steps highlighted here. And there's actually 3 tools that I'm proposing that this marketing team invests in. The first one is NAN. NAN costs about $40 per month. Excuse the in-app logo right here. I'm recommending that we use Riverside, which is a content generation platform that helps you take out the best edits from a pre-recorded video, and an app called Ad Creative, which can generate.
So I think that's enough of a teaser there. Thank you, Brian, for that. But if you can see that the power of, you can plan out, if you want to figure out like, where are my marketing rocks, what should my team be automating, then you need to understand what the costs are, the data flow, the visual workflow diagram of your entire marketing operations, and then come along and find those different scenarios. And then there you can clearly see the ROI. In his example, is like you can automate it and get like a 4x return on investment. And then when we find the highest ROI opportunities for automation, then we assign those as rocks and hold the team accountable. So every team is looking to transition from a fully human process to not replacing the entire thing, but piece by piece, we'll automate little steps of it until they get upwards of 90% automation, and they move to the director that is overseeing the agentic process.
How difficult and how much time would it cost to do this analysis? Once you have it, of course.
This stuff is shockingly cheap. Like,
no, not cheap, but it's in terms of time spent.
I mean, I haven't tested out Brian's software personally. He's just given me a couple demos, and I was really wowed, and that's why I wanted to show him. What wowed me the most about it is that you can actually take your marketing SOPs. Like, say you have a process documented for how your monthly newsletter is created, right? In case somebody is sick or away, or you don't want to lose that IP. Get it out of your head, get it into a process doc. If you don't have that, you need to get that. But you can literally take your process docs, upload it to his system. It will automatically create all the visualizations for you, and you can come along and tweak and edit it. So moving to system thinking, and with tools like this, can be as simple as uploading your SOPs, and his software will show you how your system is functioning. And then you have to go back and meet with your team and say, how much time are you spending on all of these steps? Because a lot of us in marketing, we don't really know what are our daily or weekly social posts actually costing us? What does that newsletter cost us? How much are we spending on these blog articles? And if you can break that all down and see the costs, that's, I think, the first step of moving to system thinking and seeing what are the agentic alternatives.
Well, it's not only for marketing then, it's for your entire company process. If you look at all your business processes, it's not necessarily designed for marketing solely. So you can have it in your entire company.
Yeah, this is going on in every single department, everywhere, all at once, from accounting to HR to sales to leadership. Every piece, like, if you need to be racing towards automation. If your competitors are going to take your marketing channels and make them 90% automated and you haven't caught up yet, you're not going to be able to keep up. Their margins are going to be higher than yours. They're going to be able to outbid you on all the paid platforms. And with that, you get to do more with less. It suddenly opens up a whole bunch of new opportunities. So AI is driving costs down, and companies can do 10x more. Like, they can crank out 10 times more content. They can send highly personalized newsletters every week instead of every quarter because they can now afford it. They can create 16 versions of their newsletter for different 16 market sub-segments and personalize it based on that individual's purchase behavior in the past, in the relationship, and whether they're an EO or not. Like you can't compete if you're not doing these things. And you might have a bit of time. It feels like we have a bit of time right now because there's the biggest challenge with AI right now is not what the AI can do. It's the adoption of AI. That's what I'm studying. And there's a lot of people that are moving slow for all sorts of reasons. So even though it feels like the world is moving fast with AI right now, most people, when they look at those analysis of like, oh, X percent, like 82% of companies are now using AI, 95% of that is they're just effing around with ChatGPT to like modify some content. They're not doing the full workflow automation that you see here. So I would venture to say less than 5% of companies that I know have even started down this path.
Hey, Mike, I got 2 questions here, if that's okay. One of them is, Sven asked, what is the cost of this software, and did he create it using Claude AI?
The cost of Sven's software? Sorry, or that was a question from Sven.
From Sven. So from Sven.
Oh, because I've got Sven's playing a video shortly. He's going to show you the content automation that he's done. It's really cool. The cost of Brian's software?
Yeah.
Oh, it's oh, puzzle app. I asked Brian if he can get us a code for EO. He sent something over. We'll do a wrap up there. He can get a month for free for EO members with a code we're going to send you at the end. I don't know pricing, but his website is puzzleapp.io. And from memory, it was really cheap, like less than $50 a month type of thing to use.
And did he build that with Claude AI?
No, it's he and this is crazy. Okay, so Brian, if he's watching this video, I just met the guy. So Brian, sorry if I butcher this. He is a solopreneur. He's been working on this project for 2.5 years with one part-time developer. And he was able to build what I consider to be enterprise class software. So that's a whole other thing going on in the marketing world. Like you can build amazing applications with very small amount of dev resources, but they're using AI to build these tools. So I'm guessing he's probably using Cursor plus Codex or Cursor plus Claude Code or something like that. But yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, wait, you have a 1-person, like a 0.5 person dev team, and his software blew my mind. So yeah, it's getting we've talked about this before, 10x drop in 13x drop right now in the cost of building enterprise software applications, which is the big idea we're going to be talking about at the end. Like when you're seeing the cost of building these things dropping like a rock, there's so much more you can do with marketing. It's not just about making your traditional digital channels 90% efficient and automating it. That's part of it, but it opens up whole new avenues of like, maybe we can build something for $5,000 that used to cost $60,000 and then use that as link bait. And we'll talk about some of those ideas later on, but costs dropping so fast.
I got one really good question here from Jen Orleans. Sorry, Robert. One question from Jen Orleans is, what is the role of AI when refining Google ads and specifying PPC? Does anyone know of tools that exist to help?
Yeah, so this is a 2-part series, and we're picking that up. AI is really good at understanding the difference between the different lead qualities. But you know what? I have a little clip here. It's related to that. One of the most important things with Google is understanding the difference in your lead quality or dynamic lead scoring and lead enrichment. This was an example of one of my analytics guys who's working on an AI ROC and sort of showcasing what his ROC is. It'll give a bit of a teaser of what's coming in workshop number 2 around dynamic lead qualification and getting the right data signals over to Google's AI. So this is Rafa on our analytics team.
Hi there, I'm Rafa, and I'm here to quickly show you our lead data enrichment and AI lead qualification automations. Now, both of these automations were born, as most of them are, due to a very common problem that we have. And that is that whenever you are asking for someone to fill out a form on a website, let's say, the more questions that you have, the less conversion rate that you have. However, conversely, the less questions that you have, the less you know about the client. And thus, the sales team doesn't know how valuable that lead is until they reach out to them.
And more importantly, the less questions you ask, the less Google will know, or your AI will know if that's a good lead. And there's less data that you can pass back to the media buying platforms.
They actually go ahead and ask those questions that were not asked within the form. Now, what did we do? Only through an email, get a lot of this information already. For example, let's say content job title, seniority, company domain.
I'm going to just skip ahead. We'll pick this up in the workshop too. But basically, there's an agentic process where, as this is for B2B, which is from my surveys is roughly 70% EO or more. If instead of a form coming in and the form gets submitted and you tell Google, good job, get me more form submissions, we take the lead, we enrich it, we have AI analyze that lead, give it a dynamic score and how closely that lead aligns with your ideal customer persona or ICP and send that information back to Google so that it's kind of like if you're in e-commerce and every time somebody, say you were selling thousands of products in your Shopify store, and every time they bought something and you're optimizing for revenue, you told Google, hey, you got a 1 or a 0, a 1 or a 0. It's not going to optimize well for your high margin, high priced products, right? It's going to treat, like if you're a tools company, it's going to treat a drill bit as valuable as a circular saw. That's what most people do within lead generation. So the big step forward there, Jen, with AI thinking is turning your lead gen into a sophisticated e-commerce campaign where Google understands the intricate details of each type of person and which one's providing this much value, who's providing that much value. And when it knows that, and you connect the agents back to Google, and it can optimize for the revenue as opposed to just a lead, it does a lot better. So we'll talk about more of that dynamic lead qualification and scoring in workshop number 2.
Thank you.
More questions? Yeah.
We're good right now.
Okay, so going back to adoption and the KPIs and the rocks. So this is clearly so a learning just to get people adopting the new ways of working. It's going to be totally different. So it takes out the gut feel, and you're going to do more structured marketing analysis and marketing decision making and implementation. I think it makes marketing less sexy, but more professional. Am I right?
I think it can make it more sexy. I mean, you can just do more stuff, right? And I mean, we're about to move into from operations into the content section where we'll show a little bit of that sexiness. I think when, the cost of creating content drops 90+%, and you can use those tools. I mean, that funny mock-up there we did for CPAP Superstore. I mean, the creativity and the sexiness. I mean, it's pretty hard coming up with, 30-second Instagram ads for selling sleep apnea stuff. But I think the team there in AI came up with something pretty creative that makes it more interesting and fun and exciting. So I was actually just speaking, me and Jeanette were in Saskatoon for the Memo Festival. It was a creative conference where I was one of the speakers. And the big question came up is AI making us less creative? And I'm like, I don't think so. And I knew a lot of people in the room were hating on me and AI because it seems to be taking away a lot of these creative jobs. But I think it's just like your role in creativity is moving up a level. And so you can just do way more things. It's like you're no longer worried about like taking the pictures and doing post-production and tweaking or painting or what have you. But the creativity it's like amplified at a different level. So we sort of abstract away, like you just let AI take over certain layers, and then we work on sort of a higher level of creative process. And so I think the sexiness of AI and content just really comes from understanding the changing roles. Just like I don't think Photoshop made design less sexy than when people were on pen and paper. I don't think the digital camera made photography less sexy. I think it just gave us access to a whole new set of tools and creative abilities.
Well,
Sorry.
Perez?
I was just gonna say, Christina asked, Mike, how do we use AI to be creative? Like, do you have any prompts?
Yeah, I mean, we have in our prompt engineering framework, the create, C for context, R for role. I mean, you have to know how to prompt properly. So learning the basics of prompting is essential, and the more context that you give it, the more creative it can be. Give it a role, like in the create framework for role, I say you're acting as a creative video strategist for a marketing agency, and you specialize in coming up with out of the box ideas for small businesses where those ideas align with their ideal customer profile, but we want to be the purple elephant in the room. And so like this is the context stage of the prompting. And then under context, I'll say, interview me, ask me as many questions as you can so you understand all of our roles and objectives. And I want you to think outside of the box and come up with wild, zany, creative ideas. Give me 10 at a time. Make this an interactive process. And, so good prompting framework, having it assume a correct role, giving it tons of context, interviewing you, going back and forth, making sure it understands what you're trying to accomplish. But that's a really good point there, that because it's so cheap now to crank out content, we can do things like we can test 10 different creative concepts. Like the cost of that video you saw there for CPAP might have cost 5 cents, 10 cents on the dollar from before. So now you can create 10 to 20 times more pieces of preliminary content, throw them up into a meta ads campaign, put a $5 budget on 20 different videos and see which one's resonating with your audience, see which one's getting the highest scores, the highest click-through rates, and then throw your budget on there. So prompting, learning how to prompt is important, learning that the cost of this creative is coming down, and then getting AI to crank it out in volume so that you can do your creative testing. I think that's really important.
You can have your own Steven Spielberg writing your scripts and you do your screenplay. That's kind of interesting. So you can, so getting back to creativity, so you can have these creative video footage for all kinds of social media platforms produced at, well, next to nothing. And you can also do things that normally wouldn't work in the real world, but works in an AI environment. So you can create some amazing stuff and at next to nothing cost. You don't have to have a camera operator or you hire talents or make all kinds of contracts with talents for the rights, and there's lengthy processes. You can just do it behind your computer.
Yeah, there's a video I showed at the Memo Fest from a video agency that created this video 100% with AI. And I was amazed. It was for, I don't think we can share this one publicly. It's for his client, and he told me not to share this yet. So, well, and it was, okay, here it is. It was beautiful. Now, this whole thing was done with AI. Check this out. And this normally, I said, how much would it cost to produce this the old way? Because he came from a traditional background of video production. He's like, it would be a multi-million-dollar budget to create a clip like this. And this is like, it cost him $40 in tokens. And when it's that cheap and that fast to crank out content, create 20 versions of that, or that might be a version for people that like to travel internationally. There was a lot of crazy locations that might not apply to somebody in a different industry. And like, so yeah.
But getting back to the information,
I feel like my brain is getting pulled in 5 different directions here. I got to stay on script.
getting back to automation, how can we automate this content? Can we automate the content? The answer is yes. And we have a great example to create really relevant content for the right people at next to nothing every single day.
Yeah, so this speaker, I actually, both me and Robert know well. His name is Sven. He's from EO in Germany. And EO, what's the name of the chapter?
Or
Blindborg? It's I know he's 2.5 hours south of Munich because me and Jeanette were just in Munich, and he drove up to meet us, and we got to spend some time with him and drink some of those 1 liter and a half things of beer at like some of those Munich beer gardens. And he has dedicated his career. Originally, it was to software development, 35 years. And now he's all into content automation. So I reached out to Sven. He couldn't make it today. He has some obligations elsewhere. But he put together a little 3-minute clip for you to show you how he's fully automating his content stack using make.com. So I'll pass it over to Virtual Sven.
Virtual Sven.
However, I wanted to take this opportunity and show you one of our best and coolest automations we've ever built, our daily AI podcast. This automation runs every morning just before 5 a.m. and generates a podcast episode from the most important AI news of the past 24 hours, which is then automatically published on all podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. The coolest thing about this is that this automation has been running completely without manual intervention for months, and we've already released hundreds of episodes.
Why can you crank up the volume a bit?
We worked on quality and process optimization for more than 33 years. not just in business, but in all areas of life. And much of what I know today, I learned through experience and trial and error. And I know what really works. In one of our companies, Pickard, we work with clients to develop intelligent process automation, saving them time, increasing
Mike,
throughput.
we don't get any sound. Sorry.
Oh, no sound at all.
Well, very different. Well, I think
This is
that's
all
the
you have.
story.
Okay, well,
We can also share it and
I can narrate it for you. I'm not sure, there might be some audio thing. So, he's saying that this blog podcast automation has been running every day at like 9 a.m. for months now, and they've generated hundreds of fully automated podcasts. And that's just a piece of content that they use throughout this entire automated workflow. So then he's saying here, like, he uses make.com for all of these different steps and what it does, and sort of explaining how here it's removing duplicate content, choosing the best news, and then posting it and extract it. It just goes through all the different steps of that sort of system thinking, creating the episodes, syndicating it onto all of the different platforms. And at the end here, you'll see like it's creating blog articles through the same agent. He's also creating all these like different video clips using his avatar on different, like I think this is Instagram. It will go and do this on TikTok. It will do it on YouTube. And it's just sort of like a test. It's a prototype. And you can see he's already getting, 10, 20, 50 views on all these different channels. And it adds up. He's getting quite a few leads from it. And he was just really testing this prototype and repurposing the content for all of these different channels. So Sven is an expert at content automation. He's a fellow EO member out in Germany. And we'll include his contact information if anybody wants to reach out to him. But that's just one of many content automation ideas. There's so much you can do. And a new idea that I recently came up with, because we just started getting deeper into voice agents 6 months ago when we were playing with them. We had a bit of lag issues and it wasn't quite working. Right now, they're like pretty polished. And so one common mistake I see with people that play around with AI for content, at least copy and scripts, is they're like, it doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound quite right, or it sounds a bit fake. I mean, nailing the brand voice should be as simple as getting the right prompt and attaching your brand voice into that prompt so that it knows how to sound like you, and saying, don't include M dashes, and always, you can make it sound like you. But where things go next level with that voice, you can have the agent automatically interview a thought leader through a phone call. Check this out, this one idea out. This is something we're going to do shortly. Imagine every week you want to have a blog article about something that's important to your business, and the agent can go out and can analyze your keywords. It can look at your existing Google Analytics, see what's performing well. It can analyze your competitors in your industry and your news and your social feeds and make good decisions as to what should I be talking about. But then we're like, well, if you know all the roles and responsibilities of the thought leaders within your company, it's like, well, we're going to go with this topic. And now I want to get a quick human feedback from Mike, our CEO, on this topic, because I know that he's an expert and he can talk about those things. My phone rings 9 o'clock. It's like, oh, it's my agent. Hey, Mike, it's your content creation agent. I have some questions. Do you have 5 minutes for me? And then it just hits me with questions, and I just start rambling my context into a phone call, hang up, and it goes off and continues on its way. It can then quote me in articles. It can even ask multiple thought leaders through quick phone calls or Slack messages, I need your opinion on this. I need your opinion on that. So taking your content next level with your brand voice is one thing, but now once you can infuse quotes, Mike Schwartz said this, and one of the reasons most of us don't contribute content on a regular basis, we don't have time for it. We're too busy. We forget it. And we're like, but if you just get a quick phone call or a quick text message from an agent, I need your opinion, or one statement on this, that can really take your content next level as well.
Well, Mike, this is an interesting story. Can I create it myself, or do I need to have outside help?
Yeah. How many of you saw that a super annoying MIT study that's like, 95% of AI pilots fail for the first year? False. I put a little YouTube video about that. I mean, that's a bunch of sensationalist clickbait crap as far as I can tell. Oh man, I just went off on a mental tangent there. Robert, bring me back. I lost my train of thought.
So the question was, interesting stuff and really valuable. Can I develop it all by myself, or do I need to get outside?
Right. So in that article, the one thing that I actually appreciated and agreed with, it said that there people were having a 2x higher success rate when they brought in somebody external. Now, those of you that know what I do for a living, I'm trying to remove my bias from that, but it is true. A lot of people are trying to take this stuff on their own, and with like a little bit of guidance from an external expert, can be a huge difference in success or failure. One of my favorite thought leaders in the crazy visionary way, David Shapiro on YouTube, he was pointing out that it is totally normal for pilots to fail. He said like a 95% failure rate on any tech pilot is pretty normal. You're spinning these things up quickly and testing and seeing. So that's one thing to consider. But yeah, a little bit of guidance here can go a long way. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know here to do this completely on your own, so you don't need to hire somebody like me. In the spirit of EO, I just show you everything. So if you have strong in-house project management skills and good high-level strategy, you can just hire somebody off of Upwork to implement these things for you, and they're quite affordable. You can pick up somewhere like a solid person, 50 to 100 USD per hour to come in there and start doing some pretty crazy automations for you. Now, where you need that external leadership is if you're not a good systems thinker, you might end up getting them to automate the wrong things where you don't have the highest ROI. Right? Or you might end up taking the slightly wrong approach. This approach works well when you know what you want and you've got the confidence and the in-house experience. That's when I think you should just hire contractors or hire a full-time employee. Where I think people make mistake is that they don't realize the value of, like, say, an agency approach. Like when we have somebody working on strategy, there's like me on strategy, there's usually a technical lead, there's somebody doing architecture, and then it goes down to the developer who's doing the implementation. So there's multiple layers of expertise that are required before you take a project on. So if you're strong in-house with strategy and tech, you can plug in resources for usually about half price from an agency. But And you can also even hire just a strategist. Like if you're low on budget and you just want help, like you can go to Upwork and look for fractional CAIO, hire somebody for 1 hour to review your plan and give you that high level strategy, and then hire a developer to go out there and automate that. You can do those things. Now, I'm not trying to put myself out of a job, but I want to make sure you guys know it's not like you don't have to hire an expert to like agency to take the whole thing over. You can hire sort of bits and pieces as you need them. So I'd really look at your organizational strengths and say, do I need somebody who's going to hold my hand and guide me through that whole process? Or do I know enough and I just need somebody to come in here and automate my newsletter? If you're just going to come in and get that newsletter automated, just go straight to Upwork or to a contractor. That'll be the best bang for your dollar.
It also comes back to the fact that we as entrepreneurs shouldn't become the AI experts. It's not our job. Our job is to grow our companies and be the orchestrator of what we do. And the same applies in developing AI solutions. You don't have to do it all by yourself. You have to know what kind of problem you're solving and what kind of resources, skills that you need in order to meet your objective.
Yeah, and I see that mistake a lot where people are rapidly. I think, Robert, you fell down the N8N rabbit hole and started automating things, but you have to catch yourself and pull back up. Like our jobs as entrepreneurs, we have to stay at the 50,000 foot viewpoint at all times. So it's very addictive. And if you've played around with like VO3 and started creating video assets, you're like, I can do this, or
And it's fun.
or if you go into N8N, it's like, oh, wow, I just automated this process. But if you're not careful, you'll get sucked down that rabbit hole, which is widening out and changing all the time. You want to, as entrepreneurs, I think and leaders, it's really important for us to understand like 10%. Or put in 10% the effort, learn the 70% of what's going on so that you can help direct and orchestrate what's happening with the teams below you. But just because it can happen 10 times faster and like, oh, wow, I can do the work of my whole marketing team on a weekend. Like, don't go too deep down those holes because I have one person who's just gone down the video automation rabbit hole for the last 6 months, and he is not running out of things to do. And if I kept going down that path, like I'm going to forget my strategic responsibilities as a leader. So be careful. It's a bit of a trap. It's exciting. It's sexy. It's fun. And you feel powerful. You're like, I can do it all. Yeah, you can, but be careful.
I also know someone who is really into Lovable and creating these amazing websites and these amazing applications, and he's in that rabbit hole. And he sells design lighting.
Yeah, and I think he's on this call. Edward, hello, Edward. Robert spun up a landing page for this event and himself on Lovable, and yeah, it's easy trap to get sucked into because you can do so much. Like you might have no experience as a web developer, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, look at this website I built, and before you know it, your weekend is gone, and you're like, wait, what's my role?
Your role is to run the business, to grow the business, to become more competitive and not become the AI expert. Unless you really fancy it.
Well, I think we all, I'll challenge the not become an AI expert. I think all of us have to become technology and AI experts
That's a different story.
yeah. And I sometimes in my talks, I say, just look at a plumber today. You think a plumber is a pretty non-technical job, right? Well, compare what a plumber today who runs a plumbing company has to do versus somebody 20 years ago. They have to have a website. They need a Google local listing. They need to know meta ads and Facebook ads. They probably have some sort of chatbot support. They're using email and a CRM and like GPS on their trucks. And like they've become tech companies, probably lower tech compared to, say, a SaaS provider like software as a service, but they're tech companies. And that transition you saw from a plumber who was working with carbon copy and credit card machines and paper and pens from 20 years ago, that morph into becoming their role today if they want to stay competitive. That is happening everywhere and accelerating. So I do think we all have to become AI experts. We're all becoming tech companies. Even if you're a roofer, like one of our favorite clients is he builds custom homes, and like Jeanette, they're fast becoming a technology company. We're building SaaS products that will fully automate quotation of custom homes. So yeah, I think you may think, well, I'm pretty safe from this because I'm in a non-technical industry. No, we are all becoming nerds. We have to.
We all become content creators, content distributors, and tech companies. All at once.
The content creation side, I think it depends on what you're good at. We got Cam good on the call. It looks like he's multitasking, but he creates incredible content. That is his call to life. And so I think you just gotta. It'll amplify your strengths. If you're a charismatic leader that loves talking about something you're passionate about and people care, like you should become a content creator because you can do that work now with 95% less effort.
We promised a golden nugget.
Yeah, the big idea. So everything we've been talking about so far is kind of like taking a traditional. It's funny because when I started, there was no traditional other than TV and radio and billboards. Now we say traditional. We're talking digital marketing before AI. So traditional digital. Everything we're talking about here is taking SEO, SEM, like all of the traditional channels, and just making them more efficient and making them more agentic, and maybe scaling up the creativity and looking at a series of systems and processes. But there's one thing that I think most 99% of people aren't thinking about, and that is what totally different, totally new things have opened up as a result of these changes that are coming with AI. Like, for example, AI has dropped the cost of software development, at least from my experience, 13, 15x in the last couple of years. Does that mean there's some new things that I can try out that I would never consider in the past? And I'm going to give an example of what this would be in the past. Think of like those RBC or like a major bank, if they have a mortgage calculator. You build some sort of tool or some sort of asset, or you go out there and you write a little bit of an ebook, or you publish something of value, you put it out onto your website, and you hope that it generates links or press or longer stays, longer time spent on site, which can boost your search, your organic search rankings. But think next level. So I'm going to start low and build it up. One of the first things you can do, if what you sell is knowledge or information, if you're in professional services or knowledge work, you can take all of the knowledge that you have, spin it up into a chatbot, clone yourself, and maybe you charge $300 an hour for some sort of educational service. Why not make it free? Put it out there on the web, like the idea virus, and some people put it out there for little to no cost, free to cheap. But you can have things where after X amount of interactions, it now qualifies the lead and then will upsell them onto one of your paid packages. And if there's so many people that have incredible minds and they're sort of containing it back by that engagement and that high price per hour, if you can sort of open that up, democratize that, get your message out to much wider people through these automated chatbots or cloning yourself, there I'm seeing some success as well. Now, this one I want to show you is one. So this is a fellow EO member. He runs an MSP, a managed service provider, so tech support. Now, if you try selling or marketing in MSP, any MSPs out here, I mean, it's pretty hard to do. If you're in insurance, hi, I'd like to sell you insurance. I want to sell you tech support. Good luck breaking through the clutter. How do you differentiate yourself? So we came up with this strategy I'm going to share with you here. So I don't know if any of you have completed the MyZone AI readiness assessment, but what we realized for Kieran is that they're very closely aligned with AI. There's a bunch of things with AI readiness that, if you don't have all your data centralized and secure, or if you don't have the right hardware for your individual employees to make sure they can run the latest, greatest AI tools, there's a whole bunch of overlap between what an MSP does and AI. And so instead of going out there and asking people, hey, do you need an MSP like Kieran to help you with ABC? Instead, we say, take this free AI readiness assessment. And with there, we're going to benchmark you against everyone else in the industry, track your progress, get clear guidance on how you can use AI to improve the efficiency of your organization. And you go through and we evaluate all these pillars. And at the end, it creates this report for you and gives you a radar score, and it tracks all of your details over time. You can download this report, and if you're logged in, it even does benchmark industry comparisons. And a tool like that in the past, I would, of the small business marketing budget, you never dream of building software like that for a client. But now, using a tool like this and reaching out to very specific industries to have them complete this, and then think of the value that is created. Here's this free 50-page report. And by the way, if you need help with these things that you scored poorly on, we'd love to help you with those things. So giving more and getting a thin slice of that to escalate to your sales team, that's a strategy we're doing. Now, I can't talk about all of the examples that we're doing, but this is a common theme. I would call this some sort of out-of-the-box big idea where we're leveraging AI, your IP, your data, your industry know-how, turning it into some sort of agentic application that it can now be done 10 cents or 5 cents on the dollar, putting it out and thinking of it as an AI version of link bait. And say you're a marketing agency and you normally charge $15,000 for a digital marketing strategy. Why not put an agent out to the world that will interview somebody for 30 minutes and teach them everything you need to know and give them an 80-page plan for free? That will go viral. And everybody will link to it and talk to it and use it. And if you want to click here and book a meeting with a marketing expert to analyze the plan and see how we can help you with implementation of that plan. So the rules of what we give away are changing the way, because you don't go out there selling, just like if you're in a nightclub and you see the woman of your dreams, you don't hey, baby, let's go home. It's you got to get your foot in the door, give them that drink. So you can use AI. My wife's like, what are you? Just use AI to get your foot in the door in a very easy way so that you can warm up that relationship. That's what I don't see a lot of people doing that yet.
There's some great tools available that can help you out, at least to create a first version. And then if you want to improve it, then you can hire external help to make it solid and make it safe. Lovable is one application where you can do this kind of stuff. We did a similar thing, a AI readiness scan, and it blew my mind how easy it is, well, to have the first version. The second version to have it more safe. That's a different ball game. So, but for ideation, it's great. For concept development, it's also great.
Yeah, Lovable, Bolt, Replit, Windsurf, these are all tools to play around with and prototype. When you're trying to come up with these ideas, this is sort of the prompting framework I would use. So who knows the most about your business and your company? It's not you, it's your ChatGPT account or whatever you're using. So just like ask it, say, based on everything you know about my business, I want you to come up with an out of the box idea where I can use agentic software development and build some sort of link bait or clickbait that will be really valuable and attractive to my ideal customer profile. I want you to interview me, ask me a bunch of questions, get as much context as possible, and then come up with a plan and generate 5 potential link bait ideas. You can even give some of the examples that I gave. Like, for example, if for a marketing agency owner, that might be an agent that provides a free marketing strategy, or if it's a custom home builder, it might be a free quotation on your home with visual illustrations and a video fly through of your future home and what it looks like, and get AI brainstorming with you as a thought partner back and forth and help you come up with these brilliant ideas. I was just down in Leamington, Ontario, which is, geez, it was a 12-hour trek to get there from, I had to go through Detroit and drive under a river in Windsor and out to a farm in the middle of nowhere with a whole bunch of greenhouse growers. And after that meeting, I met with Ishtiak from Crop Defenders, an EO member out in Windsor area. And we sat down in a boardroom afterwards, just drinking bubblies, and we had the phone on advanced voice mode in the middle, and AI became part of our strategic back and forth discussion thought partner. In Joe Rogan, it was like, hey, Jamie, like, go look this up, or hey, Jamie, what about that? That's what the AI was doing. And at the end of probably a 2-hour, pretty interesting conversation, we came up with that big idea, which I cannot share with you now. We came out of that meeting with goosebumps. And I want to encourage all of you to think of, like, what is that one big thing? Like, for me, it's like a fully automated AI readiness assessment. I can put it out to the world. Can you imagine the impact on my business if hundreds of thousands of small businesses were following my guidance on this piece of software? I could never do that on a one-to-one basis at, X dollars per hour. Right. And the same thing for Ishtiak. There's one agentic idea we're going to put out to the world that will transform his business. Think of those purple elephant, purple cow ideas now. There's AI versions of that out there. So yeah, start by understanding your marketing as a series of systems and processes. Use tools like Puzzle, A/B test, understand the cost of humans and the benefit of AI, and know how that process all works. But the big idea I encourage all of you to look at is, say, what is that one piece of modern AI link bait that will change everything for my industry? It is out there for almost all of you.
I would like to add something to this. Of course, you can start with a huge project, a 6-month project that may generate hundreds of thousands of dollars. But start small. Do these small experiments and learn from it, and learn to fail and learn from your failures. Because at the end of the day, you will get better at it, and you get a better understanding of how to use AI in your business and in your marketing function. So do incremental steps and not these huge leaps forward, because that's a recipe for failure.
Do you guys remember when a big, hairy, audacious goal was a 25-year vision, according to Vernish? 25-year BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And then we moved it to 10, then we moved it to 5. Our BHAG is now like 3 years. So everything is changing. There's no more like Windows 95 and you wait 3 years, you get Windows 98. Everything is changing so fast. So everything, all the little pilots, all the little AI rocks we take on, they're little, they're quick, they're fast. They're getting done in 2-3 months or less in everything that we do. So yeah, very, very good point, Robert.
Jen, do we have questions left?
Yeah, so there was a few, but Al had his hand up if he wants to just come back on and ask his question. Oh, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
That was a misclick. I apologize.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Next question, Jeanette.
Yes. The next question is from Sarah. Is that, do you have any recommendations on where and how to improve our learning on becoming a tech expert? People to follow, courses. I would definitely say Replit. Mike.
Becoming a tech expert. I mean, this is more about habits than it is about I answer this question saying, if you wanted to become an Ironman athlete, how do I become? There's no quick recipe for that. It's going to be a series of small little habitual changes over a long period of time that will transform you into an athlete. I think we have a long journey here. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And the most important thing you can do when there's a major transformation going on, it's not like running out and just trying to do everything over this weekend and then collapsing. It's small, consistent steps over time. So, for example, me as a leader, and I encourage all of you to do this, every morning, AI news, I'm at least 15, 20 minutes. I just have Apple News feed. I click on AI. I read all the AI headlines, and it helps me understand what's going on. On my lunch break, I go to YouTube while I'm eating my food, when I'm not doing like a in-person meeting, and I will watch 30 minutes of my favorite YouTube influencers. I'm just absorbing constantly. I'm a bit extreme. I'll probably put in 2 hours a day average of just AI learning. But I think if you can commit to a minimum of 30 minutes per day of AI learning, that's the most important thing you can do. And we are made for this. I was talking to, whether I talk to entrepreneurs or creatives, like anybody who's a little bit, most of us are a little bit neurodivergent and special in some way. I mean, to be an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be a sucker for pain, and you love the stimulation and the risk, right? We are ideally mentally have the capacity for this. So just first of all, feel good. If you're an entrepreneur, which I think is 98% of this room, if you've got those entrepreneurial tendencies, once you start building those habits, you will naturally, like what we do well is we can understand all these different little opportunities and make sense of it, and it'll turn into a new program. But it starts with habits and a little bit over time, and it won't be long before those entrepreneurial sparks start flying. And when that happens, the hardest thing will be to rein it all in and be really strategic about how you approach it. Because just like when I started my first .com company in early 2000s, like clubvibes.com and clubzone.com, you're in the wild west where it can feel like your idea is in a vacuum and you get pulled in every direction. It's like, where do I get started? What do I do? It's just a bit overwhelming. So that's the next challenge. But the most important thing is every day learning, every day a little bit. Break it up into bite-sized pieces. You're way better off doing 10 minutes per day of AI learning than you are doing 2 hours on a Friday. Break it up slow. Know this is a marathon. Build it into your habits. Anchor it. You know, I'm trying to get in shape for skiing, and every morning when I brush my teeth, I'm doing squats in the bathroom, and my legs are getting shredded. I'm not even going to the gym. Those little anchoring habits with AI learning, that's where I would get started.
Hey, Mike, and who should people follow on YouTube for AI implementation or that learning journey, so that they can follow weekly?
So there's thousands of AI influencers. I would go to ChatGPT and have a long-winded conversation with them and talk about the types of things that you want to learn and where you want to be in that role. And then I would have it go out there and do deep research and make recommendations on the best AI thought leaders that align with that vision. There's a bunch of mainstream people that you'll see popping up in the feeds. And at a highest level for like future 5-10 years out, David Shapiro, he's a bit crazy, but he's brilliant. Post-labor economics and the meaning economy. Like, you need to look, there's a moment coming 5, 10, 12 years in the future where universal high income hits and robots take over. You want to look at that. David Shapiro, amazing. You want to stay on top of the top 40, Matt Wolf, Matthew Berman, these guys are top 40. Wes Roth is a bit more technical. But I think finding somebody who's in your niche, like if you're learning about process optimization and how to use N8N or how to guide your team with that, there's very, very specific people for each role in each industry. So I would start by chatting with AI, have it do deep research, recommend that, bookmark these people, and just consume a little bit every day. Robert.
Mike, I got something to add to this. So we did like 3 global AI summits. All sessions are still available on the web and on the EO learning learning platform. There was also the Jumpstart July, where we talk about prompting and advanced prompting and agentic AI. They're still available. So if you go to the EO website, you can still watch those programs. And on February 26th, we'll host the 4th Global AI Summit out of live in Rotterdam. So you can register, go to the MyEO's website there, or our website, global-AI-summit-summit.com, where you can find all relevant information. We'll have a great program where we can learn. And of course, in the coming weeks leading up to the Global AI Summit, and even after that, we'll host these type of webinars in order to help you out and help you to become more AI savvy. Brings me to the next point. Mike, what I'm going to do on December 11th.
Yeah, so December 11th, it's part 2. Yeah, so if you go back to our website, we've got the agendas for both of them. There's so much to cover with marketing. I think the one idea that I'm most excited about, Jen kind of already asked that earlier in the question, is a lot of us do paid, and there's a much better way of doing paid now with AI. Most people are sending the wrong reward signals back to Google and Meta's AI. And so we're going to go a bit deeper into the difference between like an SQL, an MQL, a UQL, and how we can do dynamic lead scoring, how we can do lead enrichment for that with the media buying platform specifically. But yeah, the whole agenda, if you go to our website, myzone.ai, there's a landing page that we created. Anybody that signs up for these workshops, we'll let you know about the next one. If you don't want to hear about us anymore, if you're getting annoyed by this, just reply back, hit unsubscribe. We'll never bug you again. So we'll let you know about the next one. We'll list out the full agenda. We're going to be running these on a regular basis. And, you don't have to show up to all of them, but the one in January will all be about strategy. And if it resonates with you, then, hop in here. I also want to quickly share one last thing a friend of mine built. Those of you familiar with Blinkist, you can read a book in 10 to 15 minutes. This is Blinkist for YouTube. My friend and partner in Croatia, Andre, he built this. This is his own little startup. So say you're on YouTube and you want to read this you want to watch this Matthew Berman thing about, I don't know, the end of the AI bubble. And then you can just take this URL, go to Recapio, punch in that URL, try it, and it gives you like the detailed summary from the transcript. It analyzes it all. You can even have conversations with it. And then through the transcript, it'll show you little timestamps when they talk about certain things. So you can be like, it's 7 minutes. They talk about this. Click, click, click. You can also, when you're logged in, you can tell it, like, so here, I could just skim through and be like, oh, I really want to see about this AI investment thing at 10:14.
This infographic.
And it will take you to that moment. So think there's a lot more it can do, but think Blinkist for YouTube. It's recapio.com. Very useful tool for rapid learning.
Mike, what we'll do is we send out an email with all the relevant information and the links. Hopefully with the puzzle discount code, hopefully. And we'll also send out the link for the next webinar. It's also on this QR code. I don't know if you can see it. So it's for December 11th, and we start at 8 o'clock Pacific time, which is 5 p.m. Central European time. We'll have a discussion if you have any topic that you would like to discuss with us or share with us, or if you have a brilliant idea that you would like to be discussed here amongst EOers, amongst friends, then let us know.
Yeah, we're showcasing other EO members. I've been asking people in that WhatsApp channel if they have other ideas they want to share. Just DM me if you want to get a little clip on here, or even get some floor time. And we did keep the next 30 minutes. So the official ending of this workshop was on like 2 minutes ago, but we do have the next 30 minutes free in our calendar. We're going to just, props to all of you that have lasted this long. We're just going to call it like open office, open discussion. So if you have some burning questions you want to engage, we'll just keep this room open for the next 27 minutes, and we'll continue with just hanging out and talking about AI together.
And otherwise, until next time, start experimenting, do small incremental steps, fail and learn from it.